afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon. It's great to be here with City Council President Mosby, Councilwoman Ramos, who is, of course, the sponsor of this legislation, Council Vice President Middleton, Councilman Conway, Councilman Cohen, Councilman Stokes, the pride of East Baltimore, is with us today. Our Housing Commissioner, Alice Kennedy, our City Solicitor, Ebony Thompson, our Chief Equity Officer and former City Solicitor, Dana Moore, also Chair McCready, the Director of Housing for the Maryland Inclusive Housing, and their team, and last but certainly not least, the dozens of advocates who are here with us today. Your dedication to this cause was crucial to getting us to this very point, joined by organized labor. Yes, clap for yourselves. We're joined by some of our brothers and sisters in labor and AFL-CIO and 11-CIO and 1199 SCIU, housing advocates in Bridge, Maryland, Baltimore Renters United, Beyond the Boundaries, Community Development Network of Maryland, Our Mother's Land, and the Homeless Persons Representation Project, and community partners in Maryland and beyond in the Baltimore NAACP, and Mr. State President, White Leader, welcome, sir. Poppleton Community Association, JOTF, League of Women Voters, and many, many more. I am proud to stand with you all today as we prepare to sign City Council Bills 22-195 and 23-369 into law, which will allow for the expansion of affordable and safe housing options for residents in the great city of Baltimore and reestablish an inclusion housing policy in our city for the first time in nearly 2 years. First and foremost, I'd like to express my gratitude to Councilwoman Ramos for her dedication in bringing forth and working through this crucial legislation. She, of course, came decked out in the right color to wear all week, and that's purple. It has been a long road to get here, and collaborating closely with my administration, she's played a pivotal role in crafting a bill that aligns with our shared values, addressing the pressing need for affordable housing units, and addressing many other concerns that were raised about the viability of this policy. The collaboration we undertook itself should not go unnoticed, and I want to say thank you, Councilwoman Ramos, for your leadership, and I look forward to seeing the positive impact that this legislation soon to be law will have on the creation of affordable housing units across Baltimore. In June of 2022, our city's previous inclusionary housing law, which was enacted in 2007, expired. Over the course of its life, the legislation resulted in the creation of only 37 units. So when we returned to the drawing board, it was clear to me and all of us in this room that we needed a policy to not only reinstate an inclusionary housing policy, but we needed one that would have a tangible impact on the residents who need it in our city. In Baltimore City, 50% of renters pay more than 30% of their income on rent alone. Affordability in housing means that everyone should only be paying 1/3 of their income on total housing costs, including mortgage or rent, electricity, and other housing and utility costs. That means half of Baltimore renters are either housing insecure or are close because of how much they spend on their rent. This legislation will help. Housing has been a significant focus for our administration. Today's bill signing is the latest in a number of steps we've taken in efforts to improve housing in Baltimore. Of course, our historic plan to tackle once and for all the vacant problem here in Baltimore that we were just discussing with the council members upstairs, signing the Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act into law, expanding rental assistance, expanding rental assistance funding, making our program one of the longest standing and most expansive of our peer jurisdictions, and the incredible daily work of our Department of Housing and Community Development, which is bolstering affordable developments and locally led investments into our communities every single day. We know that in the birthplace of redlining and with a history of intentional neglect in so many of our neighborhoods, our focus on housing issues is absolutely critical. And we will continue working to overcome the decades of disinvestment that we have endured. And on that note, and on behalf of the entire city, I extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you before me today for your unwavering persistence, both in ensuring the successful passage of this bill and ensuring that these issues are always at the forefront of everyone who's leading policymaking in Baltimore. And with that, I will say thank you again and turn it over to City Council President Mosby for remarks. Mr. President.
Let's give it up for our mayor, and let's give it up for Odette Ramos. So my deputy press secretary, who happens to be my 13-year-old daughter, if you guys remember, we were in here and we were talking about the bill, and I was explaining the bill to her. And there's a saying amongst the young kids, it's called no cap. It means don't lie to me. You're saying something that's not truth. You're telling me something to lead me in a different direction. Well, we understand and know that a lot of times with policy, Ricard, they'll have the great title. But when you start to dig away at the details of the bill, it does not add up to the real intention. So that's what we had in Baltimore for decades. We had an inclusionary bill saying we wanted to include all the hard-working residents of our city to be able to live and breathe and work and play in all the amazing places that the city of Baltimore was helping to develop. But that inclusionary housing bill failed miserably. And what we did not want to do with this bill was develop another policy that was great on name, that was great on paper, but did not actually meet the needs of our residents. And right now, Mr. Mayor, as we know, the next couple of decades, affordable housing is going to become the critical issue in cities like Baltimore. So we couldn't afford not to get this right. We couldn't afford to have a quote unquote cap. So when I say no, you say cap. No. Cap. No. Cap. No. Cap. Because I know that in 17 years, when folks look back on all the hard work of the advocates, of the NAACP, of the union leaders, of the residents that are impacted by this bill, of the legislators, that they will understand and know that this bill actually meant substantively exactly what we wanted to do. And that was ensuring that the hardworking men and women and their families, their children, get to grow up, get to live, get to work in communities that was intended for all of us, that was paid for by all of us. That's why this bill is so important. It also brings me great joy about this bill and the signing of this bill today, because this was the last piece of my work when I was a council member here in City Hall, representing the 7th District. It was a bill that at the time was me trying to lift up a mountain because of the configuration of the council at that time and other things. But we knew this time around we could get it done, but more importantly, get it done the right way. And in order to do that, I don't care how good your offensive line is, how good your defense and your linebackers are, you need a Lamar Jackson. And they came with the right colors on today. So when we sat back and we talked about House Baltimore, we talked about this inclusionary housing piece of it, we wanted to put the subject matter expert, the person that we know is really driving their passion and their purpose on being on the council. So we worked directly hand in hand with Councilwoman Ramos. And how from an ideological perspective, there were things that we had chasms with, not just internally on the council, not just with the administration, not just with the advocates, not just with residents, but as I said, with every great bill, there's never a perfect process, and there's never always the exact outcome that you need, but it's about compromise. And that's what this bill is. This is a bill where all the parties sat at the table, we were able to compromise, and we were able to come up with a bill that in generations we can truly, truly be proud of. So with that, I'm going to bring up the woman of the hour, and that happens to be the sponsor of the bill, Councilwoman Odette Ramos.
my God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so humbled to be with all of you today and to have been able to have the opportunity to work on this bill as well. Let me just say, we did it, finally. Yes, yes. It took not just 15 years, it also took almost 3 years here in a process to make this work. So finally, after the passage of redlining in 1911, that happened where? Right here, right here, right in that chamber where we make laws now, that happened. This bill is one of the first steps in totally annihilating the impact of the racist housing policies that started here. We're ending it here. This is what this bill does. We make sure that there is affordability. This bill makes sure that there is affordability where none exists, where it was intentional that none would exist, right? We are completely reversing that tide, and this is so huge for our city. This is huge. So finally, after 15 years of, and many of you that are here were here 15 years ago, right? Many of you were here 15 years ago when we started this process and thought, and yeah, maybe it is 17, that's 17.
17.
By now it's 17, right? When we started this process, thought we had a bill, lots of stuff happened at the very end, and it ended up not working. So to all of you who have been for and part of this for so long, I want to say thank you for sticking it out with us, for holding us accountable, for making sure we get it right this time. So thank you so much for that as well. So if you don't already know, this package, this bill package, it's two bills. One that sets out the requirements of the inclusionary law, which basically says, and this is just for rental properties only, that if there's a development with 20 or more units and it's already got city subsidy, that then 10% of the units have to be inclusionary. And that's divided in half of them have to be for 50% of AMI, and that is about $48,700 for a family of two. And the other half has to be for 60% of AMI, which is about $53,600 for a family of two. And then the second bill is the tax credit to help pay for it. Sometimes people say, well, you passed this inclusionary law with no way to pay for it. Yes, we did. And that's why this is so important, because we knew we had to get all of this right. Now, communities across the state and the country are actually looking at us. How did you do it? What are you doing? How's this going? That's amazing for Baltimore to be one of many, many that people are looking towards to figure out how we're doing this work as for one tool of addressing affordable housing. So there's more to do. We still have to implement the law. So I'm grateful for the administration's support, because they will be doing that and we'll be working with them. It is such a big deal. But it is one significant step and one tool that will, I think, make a huge difference in our city. I want to thank you all for being here, for being part of this long process. I want to thank Mr. Mayor and the administration, Mr. Council President. He gave me the opportunity to work on this bill and lead the charge, and I'm so grateful. And also for my colleagues, both that are here and not here, who've been working diligently on this. We could not have done it as this was a team effort. I don't think I should be compared to Lamar Jackson, but but this was a team effort, and I was so grateful to I'm so grateful to have the opportunity. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Before we take questions, we're going to actually sign into law. Any questions from the media before we bring the important folks up to take pictures?
If you could just step up to the mic here at the center of the aisle so your colleagues can capture sound, please.
Emily, you good? Good? No Ravens questions? I'm shocked. Yes,
Question.
Ty.
How soon will these bills take effect and will residents see the impact?
So we're going to start working on this now. This is an immediate thing. We have to start doing this work. Truth is, they've been already working with the councilwoman and the team about how to start to implement the legislation. So we know that, like you heard, there's a lot of work to be done, but the agencies know that we have to start working on this immediately. Anybody else? All right. Come on, coalition members. Everybody come on up front.